What's up, guys? We are back with another review, taking a look at a product line that I have never touched upon for the channel, something I've never owned before, because for the most part, a lot of this stuff just doesn't speak to me. But this figure absolutely kind of struck a chord, and I knew that I had to get a hold of this one just because, well, he looked too cool, and it just sort of seemed like something that would be right up my alley. So today we're taking a look at the Mezco Toyz 1/12 Collective Rumble Society, BENDS, and the AQUATICONS figure. So this is the recent exclusive release from Mezco, one of their Rumble Societies, so like Gomez and their Pink Skull Boys, those kind of things. That is their own creation, and it's got a very pulp comic vibe, so I'm very interested in just the idea behind it. A lot of Jack Kirby vibes going on here, so I'm really interested in this stuff. It seems very cool, and it came with a whole bunch of stuff, because this was kind of a swag set, as it was called. So it's not just a figure, it came with a bunch of stuff. So we've got the figure here in a very premium format box. So it's a large but still kind of small, if that makes sense, black box. You've got the Rumble Society logo on the front with a golden seal, and then that's about it. There's a nameplate for the figure, and then it's just got Rumble Society up and down the side. It does have a magnetic clasp on the front, so you can pop it open, and you've got a shot of BENDS here with some very Jack Kirby style artwork. And then if you pop this cardboard piece out, you've got a inner shot of the figure itself in the tray there. So you've got pretty solid presentation. I really dig it. I think it's a cool looking box. It's just pretty nifty on its own, but it does come with some other stuff. So we've got, well, this shirt for one is one of the things, so a BENDS shirt. So you've got a little comic book here, which kind of explains some of his backstory, a little bit of what's going on with this particular character. Some really fantastic artwork too, and then some stuff about some upcoming Mezco offerings, including what probably looks like the next Rumble Society guy, whoever Doc Nocturnal is, so that's pretty neat. We've got this big Gomez sticker. We've got a BENDS Order of the Holy Diver pin here. And then we've got one of these little, what is these? The Mezits, they're little dudes. And let's see if I can open this here. Probably not. Let's cut that open and see what's inside. I don't really know what this is. So we've got a little gold Gomez. That's pretty cool. So a bunch of little stuff that goes along with it. Really dig the shirt. I do like the comic book. It adds a little bit of flair to the figure, give him a little bit of a backstory. So that's enough rattling on. Let's do it. Let's pull this guy out and take a look. And here he is out of the package, our BENDS figure from the Rumble Society from Mezco Toyz. So this guy is, of course, kind of uncharted territory for me, because I don't think I've ever actually even touched one of these. I have seen 1/12 figures out of the package, but I don't think I've ever actually handled one. And I know I mentioned that in a general sense, most of these aren't really my thing. And a lot of it comes down to just how they translate, say, Marvel figures into their own style. And something about Mezco stuff has just never really clicked for me. I've just always been fine with Marvel Legends. But lately, when they've been showing off some of their more unique stuff, first-party designs and creations, I've been getting a little bit more interested. Some of the Gomez figures are definitely kind of cool. The Pink Skull guys, whatever they're called, I can't remember, are definitely really cool-looking figures and all the stuff they come with. But this guy is the first one that I've really wanted to jump on. And I mean, I was there the second he went live for pre-order, and I got my order in, because something about this one really does it for me. It's kind of the pulp comic nature of it, the very Jack Kirby nature of things, and something about this kind of, space god diver guide. Something about it just really clicked with me, and I think it's a really cool design. And I'm really curious if we're going to see other versions of this, as far as like different colorways or things like that, different types of BENDS like they do for Gomez. So I'm pretty interested to see where this figure goes, or this particular character goes. But I also think we've got a pretty cool toy. And again, for someone who's never really messed with a Mezco 1/12 figure, this is something pretty interesting. I have Mezco stuff, but it's all the older stuff before 1/12 stuff came around. So let's see what's going on here. Let's see how this guy moves. He definitely is a little different for me, but he still has some pretty good potential here. So we've got a head that is really, really mobile. So he goes backwards pretty good. For such a large head, it goes backwards really good. It goes forwards incredibly well. You've got a little tilt side to side, or like little, bobble side to side. Look at that tilt though, it's pretty wild. And then you've got full rotation as well. The neck is independently articulated also, so it does help move. The arms go out at the shoulders. The one area that I'm sort of getting used to is the rotation. So they don't rotate all the way, obviously, but they do go around some, which helps just to move them around. He does seem to have a butterfly joint in there. Not a great deal of movement, but it does help more than it might seem. There is rotation at the arm. I'm having a really hard time actually getting it to rotate. There you go. So you can rotate there, and it rotates with the armor, so it's not stuck in place. You do have your double jointed elbows, and that's pretty good, I think, for a clothed figure or cloth figure. It's pretty good. There is a little bit of forearm rotation, and then you've got hinges and rotation. It's a ball hinge, so you've got hinge and then rotation at the wrist. The torso, he goes side to side pretty good. He doesn't go backwards all that much, but he does go forwards about that much, which looks pretty good for a figure in cloth. At least for me, that seems to be okay. Certainly better than I expected. Legs go out about that far, probably about as good as I can do in, you know, pants. You've got legs that kick forward about that far. They do kick backwards slightly. There is a thigh cut up there. Of course, it's only going to go so far, but it does help, you know, about that far. And then you've got a double jointed knee. There is some shin swivel action, not a great deal, but it does move a little bit to help give you a little attitude on those feet. And then you've got hinges up and down and a little bit of rocker down there at those ankles, along with some rotation. So he does move, you know, pretty good. He certainly is kind of restricted, but I don't think that's a surprise for folks when it comes to this line. It's certainly not a surprise for me, even though that, you know, I'm not familiar with the line. He moves honestly better than I would expect. There are still a few little things, you know, just some areas that are more hindered than others because of the cloth nature of him, but there's a lot of potential here, and you can really get this guy into some solid poses. Now, when it comes to the aesthetics on this guy, I think it's pretty obvious that I'm already interested in the design from the get-go. There is, and I've said it, I don't know, too many times probably, a lot of Jack Kirby going on here. There's a lot of Kirby vibes going on with this figure, and I don't see that as anything but a positive. I think it makes him look really fantastic. Something about the color scheme absolutely does it for me. The blue and the little bit of yellow accents that he has, it definitely works. And just the idea behind this one, I don't know, something about the idea behind this kind of intergalactic diver guy really works. And the little bit of backstory we get in the comic book definitely makes him seem a little bit cooler than just, you know, you might take him at face value just because of what he is and kind of where he comes from and things like that. So it does seem to be pretty neat design. There is obviously a lot of kind of diver suit design elements going on here with the actual suit itself, and I do think it looks really good. It doesn't feel really flimsy or anything. It doesn't feel overly thick and restrictive in the sense that it's going to make him like a statue, but it does have a nice texture and a nice feel to it. It is just done up in kind of like this almost, it's kind of a slightly light blue. It's not dark blue, but it's not blue. It's got a little bit of a lightness to it, and it contrasts nicely to the armor that's on the figure. He's got this floating belt piece here, which kind of cinches him at the middle. Looks really good. There is a ton of, you know, kind of like New Gods greebling design in there, which I really like. The yellow beacon on his belt there looks really good. You got the zipper that goes up there, and the zipper is actually hidden underneath this flexible collar piece, which does have like an almost leather piece underneath it. It's kind of like padding for him. I really like the shoulder armor and the gauntlets. They look really good. There's a lot of shading on these, a lot of wash and different versions of blue. So there's kind of dark blue, and then there's like a mottled blue, and there's a little bit of a light blue almost on some of this piping down here. And the same goes for the boots and the shin guards. All of it looks really worn and kind of battle hardened. It definitely doesn't look new. It's got a lot of wear and tear on it, so some scuffing and just some dirt and some grit and some grime as he's kind of, I don't know, riding the intergalactic waves out there. But he does look really cool. I mean, and frankly, that's the idea behind the figure that kind of drew me in, was just the design and the look. Not necessarily the fact that he was a 112 figure, or not necessarily the fact that he comes with a bunch of stuff. It was really all about this design, and I really dig him. I like all of these little ports back here, which we'll talk about here later. Whatever this thing is supposed to be, it adds a little bit of asymmetry to him, which I always dig when it comes to the majority of figures that wear armor anyway. So it helps make him, you know, a little bit more dynamic in that regards. And then, you know, the big thing on the figure is, of course, the helmet, and I really dig the way this helmet looks. Because for one, it makes him a little bit bigger, so we'll do some size comparisons, but it makes him a little bit taller just because of the fact that it adds, you know, a little more than an inch to the character. But there is a lot more of that kind of like Jack Kirby New God style of greebling and texture and pattern there. There is a lot of texture on this helmet. It looks kind of pockmarked and scarred and worn, so the wash that they've done on this, dry brushing kind of hits it really well. I dig these you know, like kind of ports up on his head. I'm guessing they're supposed to be lights, I think, is what they are in some fashion. And then you've got this thing here, which, you know, is kind of hidden. I don't think it's, kind of advertised, but you've got the flippable visor, which has his very interesting looking head sculpt underneath there with those pupilless eyes and his green skin. So I don't know what's going on with this guy, why he looks this way, but I like the idea that we have this just as another little design element, another little way to display him, and it looks really cool. It makes him look a little bit more, makes him look a little bit more evil. I don't know if he's supposed to be, but it certainly gives him kind of a horror-ish vibe in there, like some sort of intergalactic terror or something that's coming to your planet to, I don't know, stalk the seven seas. But he does look really cool. I'm digging everything about this head sculpt. He does have another one, but I think this is probably my favorite of the two. Now, as far as size comparisons go, obviously I don't have other 112 collected figures to show you alongside him, but here's some other stuff just to give you an idea of what he looks like. So here he is next to the Mando from the Black Series, so you can see that he kind of towers over him, but a lot of that has to do with the fact that his head, his helmet is so massive. And then here we've got him next to a Masters of the Universe Classics figure, so the movie He-Man, and you can see that he is just about the same size as him, but as far as overall bulk, he's not exactly there because he's really just a little bit taller than average, not necessarily bulkier. So you can get an idea of what he looks like next to those. Then here he is next to a Marvel Legends figure, so the recent Marvel. And then let's do a figure art. So here he is with Goku. Just to give you an idea of what he looks like next to a couple of other lines. So he fits in really well with 6-inch scale stuff, with Black Series, with Legends. Honestly, 7-inch stuff, Mythic Legions, Motu Classics won't be too far off either because he does have a little bit of extra height. Now, as far as accessories goes, this guy is pretty well stocked. He doesn't have as much as some other Mezco figures. I know there are some that just have a ton of accessories, but I think he's pretty well stocked. And he has one kind of big thing back here, which we'll talk about here in a second. So to start with, we've got a second head sculpt, which is very, very different from the one that he comes with in the box. So this one is a shorter and fatter, kind of thicker, deeper everything. It's basically everything but tall when it comes to the size on it, with a decidedly different design. It's very like octopus, squid-like in design with a bunch of tentacles coming out of it. I really like this one. I don't think I like it as much as the regular one, just from, personal preference, but it's really cool. There's a lot of great detail on it, tons of sculpt, and again, more of that yellow on blue that really makes it pop. He does have a couple of extra hands, so you've got a set of fists on him in the box, you've got a set of gripping hands here, and then you've also got a set of style pose hands, so open palm style pose hands. So you got 6 total hands. We've got his big Omniglaive, as it's called in the comic book. So you've got a little readout of what all his equipment is. So this is the Omniglaive. It's got a nice hook on the end with kind of a kind of spear halberd type of design on the top. Pretty good sculpt on it. Nice translucent blue blade. You'll never get me complaining about translucent plastic. So that looks really good. Nice again with that yellow on the blue. And then we've got this guy here. So this is another weapon. We've got the, as it's called in the comic, it's the Way of Woe, and it's an anchor, obviously on a real metal chain. The anchor is plastic, but the chain is real, and it's got a very like crayfish lobster design to it. I don't know if it's specifically meant to be that way, but it very much looks like some sort of crustacean, and it looks really good. It's got a nice weight to it, so you can swing it around if you want, but it looks really good. It's got great size to the chain, and you can get him holding it in 2 hands, having kind of pulling on something. So I really dig this. It kind of plays up the sea vibe and all of that stuff. And then we've got this big guy back here. So you've got a big stand with the BENDS design on it. So this is the same piece of artwork that's on the inside of the box when you pop it open, and it's got him surrounded by all his AQUATICONs with this massive arm. I'm not familiar with Mezco stands, but it looks pretty solid. And then we've got these little guys to round them out. So the aforementioned AQUATICONs. So they are these little, droid almost anglerfish robots that he's got. He comes with 4 of them, and 3 of them can fit on this thing. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with the 4th one. Maybe he can just hold it in his hands. I don't know, but they look fantastic. They've got a moving jaw, and then you've got soft plastic up here for the the little lure that they have, and then you've got soft plastic for these translucent fins. They very much look, kind of Transformers-ish to me, which I really like. They look fantastic. Great sculpt, great detail on them. And then you've got the effect part here, the stand, the display stand for the Aquaticons. And this thing is interesting. It's not exactly what I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be more along the lines of an actual effect part, but it's not. It's really just kind of thin, hollow plastic. And it's got 3 spots for the Aquaticons, and I'm having a hard time with this top one. I'm not really sure how he's supposed to go on there just yet, but they'll stay if you have enough patience with them. And, well, I haven't yet, so we'll put that one down. But we've got 3 different spots. So there's a spot up here at the top, there's a spot here, and then there's a spot down there. So you can have 3 different Aquaticons on this thing. Give yourself a little bit of a backdrop. I do like the idea behind it. It's not as robust as I expected, just based on some shots of it, but it is pretty cool, and it does have enough space to store 3 of your little fish guys. But he does have one other thing, another little kind of gimmick almost, to change him up and to customize him and just have a little bit more fun with how you get to pick and choose his design here. So this goes back to the portholes that are all over the figure. So they're on his arm, they're on his belt, they're on this particular head sculpt, and then they're all over his back. So you've got a bunch of holes on this guy, and they include a bunch of wires to actually put in there. So, you know, you can think of it as like tubes for him to be able to breathe underwater, or whatever you want to envision them to be. So you've got a set of these, there's 2 of these little ones, and they are, I don't know, almost as tall as the figure itself. And then you've got a set of 2 of these, which are about a foot long each. And they're kind of like a corrugated design almost, but they're very bendy, very, very flexible. And then you've got a set of 3 of these. And these are really just straight wire. So a set of 3 of these smaller ones. And what you do is you just take them and, you know, I'm not going to do them all, but pop one into the little port on the back, and then you can bend it around and pop one into the other port down there. And then you've got a little way to customize them. And there are ports for the smaller ones as well. So you've got like these ports on his back down here. So you can pop one in there, and then you can put one on his back this way. So you've got a few different options when it comes to doing this kind of stuff. They are a little small, but you've got a few different ways to display him. So change him up a little bit, have these little things hanging off of him to make him a little bit more asymmetrical and make it look like he's actually wearing some sort of a diving suit, which looks really cool to me. I like the idea behind this. I don't know if I'm going to use the really big ones because they are honestly enormous, but I'm sure you can get some really good use out of this stuff. And they just add a little bit of extra flair to this figure. So yeah, I'm pretty much sold on this particular figure. I'm really happy with my purchase. Honestly, I'm really glad I jumped on this guy. I dig the design through and through. I think he looks fantastic. I'm really curious if we might get some other colors out of this figure, just a different version of this guy in some respect, because I would absolutely buy another one. And I just think the design is cool. I like the way he looks. He moves a lot better than I expected to, you know, not knowing what I was getting into going into this. He does have some limitations compared to what I'm used to, figures that aren't wearing clothes. But for a figure that is wearing clothes, I think he moves really well. He does come with a pretty solid amount of accessories. He comes with a really cool box and a whole bunch of extra cool stuff. So it's really a solid package here. I don't know if this is going to make me a die-hard 1/12 collective guy. I'm still very much in my lane when it comes to comic figures, but for stuff like this, the more unique stuff that is Mezco only specific their characters, I'm very much interested in more of this type of thing. So I'm pretty happy with him, and I think you will like him as well. So that's going to do it for this look at the Mezco 1/12 Collective, Baron, BENDS, and the Aquaticons. Let me know what you guys think. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and until next time.